it seems like it would be very easy for those types of conversations to go off the rails. So first of all, how did you create the conditions for it to be a respectful and productive dialogue?
Well, the key thing, of course, is that we had the ability to create structure, and we had people who gave buy-in to be walked through a structure. So that's already something that most of us can't imitate in our daily lives, but it allows us to look at the mechanics that do cultivate good conversation. So I remember very clearly, I had spoken with a mentor of mine, and he has worked on focus groups across difficult political issues his whole career. And we had wanted to bring cameras to tell the story, to record the event as it was happening. And he was very clear that, look, if you do that, you have to know that you might really be compromising trust in really subtle ways and compromising the honesty with which people can engage.
Right, because now they're performing. They're aware that the camera's looking at them.
Or they're afraid, and they're wondering suddenly who we are and what we're here to do becomes fraught for a lot of folks. So we made a difficult choice, that the experience was more important than the story. So that was one thing. But another was really to begin with the human. So I remember there was a big chunk of the event where people paired off one-on-one, someone from Sherman County, someone from King County. And the first question we had them ask each other, we had a menu of really smart, strong questions they could ask to explore each other's politics. But the first question they asked each other was, what's your favorite childhood memory? And that was very intentionally to make sure that you make a human connection before you treat each other as a walking political opinion. And so that was extremely important.
And you had some kind of research in the book that showed when you set the conditions of people recognizing one another's humanity first, it leads to a much stronger outcome of the conversation.
I mean, we tend to engage in these issues online where there is no warm-up. There's not even a hello.
Right. It's just, I oppose you on abortion or gun control or which party
it's just
I'm
throwing
for.
my ideas into the ether, and they will debate other ideas, and the internet is a non-place that makes us into non-people. So we're not people, we're just ideas fighting some kind of showdown. But so it's like we don't give ourselves the opportunity to see the person first, and that made an enormous difference for people.
And so in the room then, can you give me an example of a dialogue you observed that you thought was kind of profound in the way that it bridged these gaps in a way that doesn't typically happen?
Yeah, so this happened with several folks. This stood out. A lot of people from King County came down with that idea, that sort of suspicion that, oh my gosh, if someone voted for Trump, it must have come from a very hateful place. For a lot of liberals, that's what it amounted to, right? Trump's language and rhetoric, it just all seemed too much. So, I knew that a lot of liberals carried that in their hearts. And there was one farmer in particular, Darren Padgett, very tall guy, who talked about his reasons for voting for Trump. And they were surprisingly economic for everybody. He runs like a fairly large, farm, and he works right at the margins. Each year's crop, each year's weather can really change things one way or the other. And he talked about federal regulation that could be seen as sort of threatening his ability to control his land. And no one had ever heard about it before from Seattle. It was called...
Yeah, this was the Waters of the
of the United States rule. So again, if you're not a farmer, you probably haven't heard of it. But it's an extreme concern for many farmers, and they just don't trust Democrats to take it seriously, but they trust Republicans, and that was a huge motivator for him. And so several folks told me, yeah, that was an eye-opening moment. That was I never thought of it that way moment. That people might have reasons for casting their vote that don't even matter to me, but that matter a lot to them. And that end up sort of supplanting this assumption I'm making that everything must be driven by something hateful that I am then justified in hating them for.
Thanks for watching this video clip of the Speak Good podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please check out our full conversations on your favorite podcast directory. We've spoken with everyone from the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution about what it was like to be the founding director of the National Museum of African American History and Culture, to a member of Congress who describes his day job as being in the wrestling ring, to an expert storyteller who helps us understand how we can use stories to help us achieve our business goals. Thanks for watching.